Assalamu alaikum, challengers. Are you ready for a challenge?
I want to challenge every Muslim apologist out there to respond to this without omitting anything I said and anything the Quran says, and explain to us how the Quran makes no mistake here. There is no chance. I challenge everyone.
Sadly, everyone is busy and you're stuck with me, Ridvan. So what you got for me?
There are two Marys in Abrahamic belief and history. Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Miriam, the prophetess, sister of Aaron and Moses, and daughter of Amram, or in Arabic, Imran. The two lived at least a millennium apart from each other, possibly much more. The Quran describes Mary, mother of Jesus, 3 times in 3 different cases the wrong way, and confuses her with Miriam the prophetess. Once it calls her sister of Aaron, which is wrong. Then it calls her daughter of Imran, Mary, who was given a child from God, Jesus. And the third time, it even lengthily describes Amram, the father of Moses and Aaron, whose wife gives birth to Mary, who then gives birth to Jesus, 1,500 years later.
Alright, quick recap. Ridvan says that the Quran describes Maryam 3 times incorrectly. It describes her as the sister of Harun, Aaron, the daughter of Imran, and the daughter of the wife of Imran. Ridvan finds the last 2 points, which is actually 1 point, to be problematic since the father of Mary is Joachim and not Imran. Or is it? Ridvan, what is the proof that his name was Joachim?
But Mary's father's name, according to Christian writings, was Joachim, or Joachim. And Joachim doesn't sound like Imran at all.
Ah, Christian writings. Don't you mean the Bible, Ridvan? Oh, you mean it isn't in the Bible? What was that? It's in the Proto-Evangelium of James. You mean that same piece that the Christians reject as a forgery? What's that, Ridvan? Forgeries wouldn't get something like this wrong? Hey, I don't know about that. I mean, I wouldn't even trust the canonical Gospels, let alone a forgery. Okay, so there's one more piece of evidence that Ridvan overlooked that can be used against the name of Joachim. Ridvan unknowingly mentions this while speaking about the history of this matter.
There is really no defense to this at all, but we are also not the first people to discover this. In fact, there is a hadith, a narration, in which this contradiction is mentioned. This is one of those hadith which you won't hear during your Islamic education, because it is simply embarrassing. Mughira bin Shuba reported, "When I came to Najran, the Christians of Najran asked me, 'You read, O sister of Harun, in the Quran, whereas Moses was born much before Jesus.' When I came back to Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, I asked him about that, whereupon he said, 'The people of the old age used to give names to their persons after the names of apostles and pious persons who had gone before them.'"
Dear viewers, Ridvan's laughter here was not at the hadith. Oh no! For a moment, he reflected upon his existence and his empty shelf self. I'd laugh hysterically too if I was him. In any case, this hadith refutes Ridvan in 2 ways. Firstly, Ridvan did not notice that the Christians of Najran did not object to Maryam being referred to as the daughter of Imran. Why? Because they did not hold the belief that her father's name was Joachim. To conclude, the Quran affirms the name of Imran for the father of Maryam, and there is no valid historical evidence to refute this claim. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, we've gotten rid of 2 of Ridvan's 3 objections. As for the point of Maryam being referred to as Harun, well, Ridvan just answered it himself with this hadith. The Prophet, peace be upon him, explained this matter when he was asked about it 1,400 years ago. And to be honest, in my opinion, this in itself is a sign of his prophethood, as we'll soon see.
So Muhammad is confronted with this mistake in the Quran, but then Muhammad says that it's no mistake, because people in Mary's time apparently referred to each other with the names of old prophets and pious people in the past, from 1300 years ago. And coincidentally, they picked the name Aaron here. Muhammad is making this up, if you can't tell. Not only don't we find any information, any reference to such a practice in the past at all, it is also quite interesting that the Christians, who are far more familiar with traditions than the new Muslims, don't know of such a practice at all.
I beg to differ. Early Christians were familiar with this practice, even though the Christians of Najran weren't. An example of this can be found in Guillaume Dai's piece on the Quran and its hypertextuality. As we can see here, Aaron, Harun, himself is referred to as the brother of Mary. Not surprisingly, Dai points out that the typology here is intentional. Keep in mind that Mary here is the Virgin Mary and not Maryam, the sister of Musa. Now, these points are sufficient to refute Ridwan's claim. However, I want to go a bit further and explain why the theory of the Quran confusing the mother of Isa, Jesus, and the sister of Musa, Moses, is a ridiculous theory. The first and most obvious issue with this theory is that it would mean that the Quran assumes that Musa is the uncle of Isa. Now, there is nothing in the Quran or hadiths that would suggest that the Prophet, peace be upon him, held this belief. We do not find a single instance of Isa or Maryam having their stories interconnect with Musa and Harun either. Moreover, the Quran indicates that there is a gap between Musa and Isa in Surah Al-Baqarah. The Prophet, peace be upon him, makes it explicitly clear that the last of the prophets was Isa, indicating a large gap in time between these two prophets. Also, keep in mind that the only mention of the sister of Musa and Harun in the Quran is in this verse. We do not find her being referred to as the mother of Isa. Maryam, the mother of Isa, is a significant character in the Quran, and she's never mentioned in passing in the same way the actual sister of Musa and Harun was. This indicates that the author of the Quran is aware that they are not the same person. Ridwan, for some odd reason, seems to think that he stumbled upon irrefutable proof, while multiple Orientalists who have thoroughly studied the Quran and Hadith, classical ones like Sale and Gerok, and contemporary ones as well, deny that the Quran was mixing up both Maryams. Now, perhaps the most ironic refutation against this absurd theory is the Orientalist claim held by the likes of Tisdall and Murad, as well as contemporary Christian apologists, that the Prophet, peace be upon him, had access to the Proto-Evangelium of James. Now, if that's the case, then the Prophet, peace be upon him, surely would have noticed that both Maryams have different fathers. In other words, the inclusion of Imran as the name of Maryam's father was intentional. What I do find really funny, though, about this whole argument is that not only is the Quran mixing up Maryams, but it is mixing up the Maryams that cannot be confused. Mary was a very common name after all. In the New Testament, you have Mary, the mother of Jesus, of course, Mary Magdalene, Mary of Bethany, Mary of Clopas, Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and Mary the mother of John Mark. Now, the Quran doesn't confuse the mother of Jesus with any of the Marys found in first century Judea, but allegedly confuses her with a Mary from Egypt 1,000 years earlier. So let's summarize all this quickly. 1. The Quran refers to the father of Maryam as Imran, since his name was Imran, and there is no evidence to contradict this. 2. The Quran refers to Maryam as the sister of Harun, not because she was the actual sister of Harun, but because it was a common practice as per the hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him. And 3, there are several pieces of evidence that indicate that the Quran differentiated between both Maryams. And there you have it, ladies and gents. Ridvan, the mouth breather, and his challenge have been refuted. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.